Okay, let's unpack this. We are doing a deep dive today into, well, the ultimate hypothetical.
It really is.
It's a thought experiment designed to strip away pretty much everything about modern life, all the expectations, all the necessities.
It's the question that's left when you finally turn off the engine of survival. If you, the listener, had truly infinite money, perfect health that lasts, unlimited free time, and absolutely no one, depending on you for anything,
Yeah.
what would you actually do?
And I think the first sort of universal response is always passive entertainment.
Always.
I'd watch every show on Netflix. I'd play every video game. I'd just lie on a beach for 6 months. And that makes sense because I think most people are just exhausted.
Of course, you're starting from a deficit.
Yeah.
But what our source material argues, and I think this is so powerful, is that if you remove those core pressures, the need to earn, the need to maintain your status, to please other people, to just survive,
Right.
those distractions, they actually lose their grip on you.
They just fall away.
They do. They stop being this balm for your anxiety and just become one option among millions. So this whole deep dive is about that shift.
Yeah.
Moving from obligation to intrinsic meaning.
Okay.
If nothing is required of you, what's left are the things you pursue because they just feel like they deserve to be done. We found 7 core pursuits that humans seem to gravitate toward in this state of, ultimate freedom.
And by the end, we're going to try and synthesize those down into the 4 ultimate drivers: truth, creation, service, and alignment.
That's the mission.
Perfect. So let's start with that first shift you mentioned, from distraction to clarity, because we have to tackle the whole passive entertainment thing first.
We do.
The sources are pretty clear that the reason binge watching or endless scrolling feels so good right now is that people are, well, tired, they're anxious, or they're feeling a bit empty.
And if you just eliminate the cause, if you take away the exhaustion and the anxiety that comes from that whole survival struggle.
When the need for the coping mechanism just disappears.
Exactly. You stop running from reality and you actually start wanting to understand it.
Which is a perfect segue to the very first pursuit. Understand reality more deeply. And the sources call this the quest for clarity. And it's really different from, school. It's not learning to get an A on a test or to get a promotion.
No, not at all. It's learning just to see.
Just to see more clearly.
Precisely. We're talking about diving into physics or cosmology, not because you need a degree, but because the universe is it's this incredibly compelling, complex thing.
A puzzle you want to appreciate.
Yes. Or studying things like consciousness itself or cognitive biases, all the ways our own minds trick us.
I found the history part of this really fascinating. Not just, memorizing dates and battles, but looking for the huge repeating patterns.
Cycles.
Yeah, the cycles of empire, the way certain mistakes just happen over and over. It's a way of pulling yourself out of the immediate moment to see where you fit in this huge continuum.
And part of that pursuit is just the ability to sit with a really hard question, a social one, a philosophical one, and not feel this pressure to rush to a simple answer.
Intellectual patience, that's a pursuit in itself.
It is.
So what's the big realization here? What's the core takeaway from this first pursuit of truth?
It's that truth, with a capital T. It only becomes truly valuable when your survival is already taken care of. I mean, if you're desperate for food or rent money, truth is way less important than utility. What works right now.
But when you're free,
that whole equation just flips on its head.
Yeah.
And truth, pure understanding, becomes the main thing you want.
That makes a ton of sense. Okay, so if understanding the external world is pursuit 1, we have to talk about the internal world. Pursuit 5, which is explore consciousness itself.
Yeah, and this is the one that modern life just gives you no time for. We're so busy surviving that we basically outsource our internal state to external noise.
Right, to stimulation.
This pursuit is about seeking out solitude without an escape hatch. No phone, no podcast, no music.
That sounds terrifying for a lot of people.
It is. It's about being in silence and not immediately trying to numb the anxiety that bubbles up.
We're so used to observing the world, but we never stop to observe the thing doing the observing. Our own mind.
That's it, exactly. It's about watching your thoughts happen instead of just being dragged around by them. It's about testing, what actually brings you peace versus what just gives you a little hit of stimulation.
A temporary fix.
A fix that usually leaves you more drained than before. It's like a personal science experiment. If I just sit here, does the agitation eventually settle down? Or do I just get better at distracting myself inside my own head?
And the key takeaway from the sources on this one is It's huge.
It's profound. The discovery you make in that silence is that the distraction was never the real problem.
Avoidance was.
The avoidance was. You were actively running away from your own inner world, your own big questions. And once you're kind of forced to sit with it, the pull of all that shallow external noise, it just weakens.
So those two together, understanding the external world and exploring the internal one, that's the start of that big driver we call truth. But humans aren't just thinkers, we're doers. So let's move to the external drives. Pure creation and dignified service.
This is pursuit 2. Create things that didn't exist before. But the key here, and this is crucial, is that the creation is totally unburdened by the need to monetize it.
Okay, I want to push on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Because isn't all creation a form of productivity? How does taking money out of the equation change the act of creating? Does it just become, I don't know, self-indulgent?
That's a great question, and it's a critical distinction. When you're not creating to make a living, it shifts from productivity, which is, measurable, marketable, useful, to what the sources call witnessing.
Witnessing. Okay, what do they mean by that?
It means you're creating something just to testify to a truth or an idea or an aesthetic that you feel needs to exist. The value is completely intrinsic. It's not transactional at all.
So the act of creation is its own reward. Can you give us some examples of what that witnessing looks like?
Sure. Think about writing. Not the book you're trying to sell to a publisher, but writing out, say, a detailed framework of your personal philosophy, or a short story that captures one single perfect emotion, even if no one else ever reads it.
Or building something.
Yeah, building niche tools, like teaching yourself to code some really specific program that solves one tiny little problem, knowing full well there's no commercial market for it.
Or making art that is just profoundly true to your experience, without any thought about whether it's trendy or if it'll sell in a gallery. It sounds like sincerity becomes the new measure of success.
Sincerity replaces utility. Exactly. And that sincerity carries over perfectly into the third pursuit. Serve without obligation.
So, dignified service, is that just a fancy term for, like, high-level volunteering? Does removing the obligation really change the act of service itself?
It radically changes it, because it's not the kind of rushed, guilt-driven charity you do to meet some social expectation.
Or to pad your resume.
It's none of that. Because it's purely chosen, it's dignified. It's not about patching up a problem. It's about applying wisdom where it can do the most good.
So it's more like a targeted high-value intervention. What are some of the best examples of this from the sources?
It could be long-term personal mentoring, helping one specific person think through a huge, life-altering decision over months with no expectation of getting credit or controlling their choice.
It's also teaching, but without the structure of grades or a formal curriculum.
Right. It's service that focuses on proactive wisdom instead of just reactive aid.
I really liked the point in the source material about stepping in where harm is coming from ignorance, not from malice. It's about raising the collective clarity.
And it moves beyond just fixing today's problems. It's about protecting fragile things like knowledge from being distorted, or protecting people from confusing systems, or using your infinite resources to protect some, unglamorous but critical ecosystem just because it matters.
Okay, so we have these twin external drives, creation and service. Now let's get into the social and spiritual side of things. Pursuit number 4 is engage deeply with people.
And this is where that survival mindset gets totally flipped. Survival thinking pushes us toward networking, right? More contacts, broader reach.
Transactional relationship.
Very transactional. This pursuit is the exact opposite. It's not networking. It's not shallow entertainment. It's choosing depth over scale every single time.
Which means making time for those long, meandering conversations about real things instead of the small talk that fills up most of our lives.
It means really, truly listening to someone without already planning your clever response in your head.
That's a hard habit to break.
It's a defense mechanism, right?
Yeah.
It comes from being anxious or busy. When that pressure is gone, the ability to just listen becomes this profound source of connection.
And it also means deliberately seeking out people who are nothing like you. Not to debate them, but just to understand. It's quality over quantity.
And that search for deeper connection often leads people to look outwards toward something bigger. Which brings us to pursuit 6, align with something bigger than yourself.
The spiritual dimension.
Exactly. And this seems to pop up in every culture once that basic survival pressure is gone. And it's not about religion in a ritualistic sense. It's about a fundamental moral or spiritual orientation.
So this would include deep Moral inquiry, asking, what is actually right, not just what's convenient or legal or popular.
And spiritual inquiry. What am I responsible to beyond just myself and my immediate circle? And a big part of this is legacy thinking.
Meaning, what should exist after I'm gone?
Exactly. What value, what mechanism for good can I set in motion that will keep working long after I'm not here?
That's the real mark of freedom, isn't it? The shift from thinking about the quarterly report to thinking about multi-generational impact.
You're aligning your actions with values that outlive you. And that alignment provides the ethical glue that connects your personal truth to your external service.
Which brings us to the last one, the seventh pursuit. And I think this one is fascinating because the sources say it's both incredibly valuable and incredibly rare.
It is.
Protect truth from distortion.
And it's rare for one simple reason. It requires total freedom from the two forces that run our lives: the need for approval and the need for an income.
Right. If you're not worried about getting fired or getting canceled or losing your funding.
You can afford to say the unpopular but necessary things. You can stand up to groupthink when the crowd is screaming.
You can slow down manipulation, which feeds on speed and outrage. It's about defending meaning where it's being hollowed out by noise and bad faith arguments.
It's the ultimate act of intellectual independence. And it's only possible when survival is completely off the table.
That really brings everything full circle. So we've gone through all 7 pursuits. Understanding reality, pure creation, dignified service, deep connection, exploring consciousness, higher alignment, and protecting truth. What does it all add up to? What's the pattern here?
Well, when you connect all those dots, the underlying pattern is actually remarkably simple. When you remove the pressure of survival and you remove the lure of cheap, easy pleasure, humans naturally, and I think powerfully, gravitate toward 4 core drives.
Truth, creation, service, and alignment.
Yes. These aren't just, hobbies to fill the time. They become the organizing principles for a life that's lived without necessity. It kind of confirms that all the distractions we lean on, they're really just filling a void.
A void created by being tired and anxious.
Right. And if you eliminate that void, these intrinsic high-value drivers they seem to take over automatically.
And the practical takeaway from this thought experiment for you, the listener, is really simple. You don't have to wait for infinite money to start figuring out what really drives you.
Not at all. This is a blueprint for using the freedom you have right now, no matter how small it feels.
You can just start noticing. What do you drift toward when you have a truly free afternoon? When you consciously unplug from work and social media?
Those moments, they're like little cracks of light. They show you what your intrinsic values actually are.
Because the final, and I think more interesting question the source text leaves us with is this one, the one we want you to sit with. If you personally had that ultimate freedom, all the money, all the time, perfect health, what is the one thing you would pursue that feels, well, a little bit scary because it's so important, but also deeply, unequivocally right?
That question, focusing on the scary but right thing, that will point you closer to meaning than any distraction ever could.